A few weeks ago, the news was awash with the first pictures from NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. The giant telescope, which cost $10 billion to design, build and launch, is powerful enough to catch the heat of infrared light in the cold darkness of space, but light enough to be carried by a rocket more than 1 million kilometres away from the Earth. A machine that can unfurl and assemble itself to precision measurements smaller than the width of a virus, but with a sun shield as big as a tennis court on its back. Now, from our little blue rock on the outer suburbs of the Milky Way, we can stare into the deepest heart of the cosmos, and not just deep into space, but deep in time, when the first stars were burning through the fog that forged the universe. Their light has taken more than 13 billion years to reach us. For this reason, the James Webb is called a giant time machine. Much of the excitement elicited by the Webb telescope stems from its potential to tell us about the beginnings of the cosmos. But origin stories are of interest beyond science. The Dreamtime stories of the first Australians, the Gilgamesh epic of the Mesopotamian folklore, the Alamuts of the Filipinos, are all examples of pourquoi stories. The prequels and backstories common in film and pop culture today are interesting in themselves, but also help explain what comes next and where we are going. We're also edified when worlds or individuals with dark pasts transform into something better. Seeing here hope for our own redemption. Great Christian origin stories include the creation and fall of our first parents, and the recreation of the living world after Noah's flood, the making of Israel from the children of Abraham, and remaking by Moses through the Red Sea. But before all this comes the genesis of all things, when a dark chaos was turned by God's creative word to light and life, order and possibility. Today's gospel can also be read as an origin story. Luke tells us that after being called, Peter, James and John followed Jesus everywhere. They heard him teach and forgive sins. They saw his miracles, healings, even raising from the dead. They thought and talked a lot about who he was. So when Jesus asked them, Peter jumped in with his declaration, "You are the Christ of God." But then came Jesus' terrible prediction that he would be rejected and killed. What were they to think? Today he lets these three favourites glimpse his glory. As God the Father shone upon the dark chaos at creation, saying, "Let there be light," so God the Son illumines the darkness within and around the apostles with his dazzling light. Amidst the chiaroscuro of their excitement and fear, the Father declares, "This is my beloved Son, light from light, true God from true God, the chosen, the one to listen to. He will transform your sickness, ignorance and sin into light and life, possibility and plan. Reflecting on today's experience later in his life, Peter wrote that by Christ's divine power, we've not only been given everything we need for a godly life on earth, we've also been promised we will ultimately share in his glorious nature. My sons, the priesthood of Jesus Christ, hinted at today as he stands arms outstretched in all his glory before the altar of the world, has been shared with his priests ever since that transfiguration. Like Peter in today's gospel, you must say, "Master, it is wonderful for us to be here. So let us build you a tabernacle, your church." You are the ones who must now unveil God's glory in the sacraments, transfiguring babies into children of God in holy baptism, sinners into saints in holy penance, and lovers into spouses in holy matrimony. At your hands and by Christ's power, the sick will be healed in holy anointing, the dead prepared for resurrection in holy burial, bread and wine transubstantiated into Christ's body and blood in the Holy Eucharist. You are the ones who must now proclaim the story of human origins in God's creative word and of our restoration into Christ's perpetual light. By teaching, sanctifying and leading, you will offer humanity a glimpse of the transfigured one and an invitation to join him. My brothers, you have 5 origin stories of your own to celebrate today. Your journeys of faith were shaped by temperament and upbringing, the witness of faithful priests, religious and relatives, prayer and devotion, a yearning for more amidst the emptiness of the world. You are from diverse backgrounds, the English, Irish and Scots of old Catholic Australia, and the Lebanese and Indians of the new. You bring to priesthood diverse experiences as an electrician, musician, water resources engineer, construction salesman, and a cobbler become risk manager. Family and friends of our ordinands, for all their diversity, these, your sons and brothers, all speak of a powerful call to serve the Lord and his church. During his time in the desert, not as ascetic, but as fly-in, fly-out electrician, and then in the secular wilderness of Sydney, Mark credits Jesus with giving him new insight into what is truly fulfilling, leading him to a life of sacrifice and prayer. Devotion, music, formation and health challenges have all helped make Ben Gandhi an instrument in the Lord's work, dare I say a musical instrument, that might uplift others liturgically and pastorally. Bejoy's Syro-Malabar relatives include a Mother Teresa sister, a Carmelite nun, a Jesuit, diocesan priests, a bishop, and a blessed. So I guess he was doomed to this vocation. Yet even he struggled to reconcile his inherited faith with his secular education until he found intellectually serious explanations at World Youth Day in 2008 and had a life-changing encounter with Christ in the Blessed Sacrament. Ben Saliba experienced a reversion to faith in his mid-20s, also through attending sound talks and holy hours. Then missionary work amongst the poor in the Philippines ignited a call to service in him. And Adrian's vocation was sparked early by a Dominican priest, and he found what he most wanted was to bring hope to others, especially the forgotten, sick, and dying. At a time when fewer than half now call themselves Christian in Australia, and many Christians are confused, disillusioned, or disconnected, we need you 5 to be evangelists and saint makers for the 21st century. My sons, brothers, and soon fathers, there are many sides to your pourquoi stories. But if the Transfiguration is a new origin story for humanity, divinized by grace, your own transformations today are a new beginning for you also. In the words of our collect, Christ's transfiguration wonderfully prefigured your full adoption to divine sonship. By listening to his voice and conforming yourselves to him, may you be revealed as God's beloved sons, co-heirs with Christ forever and ever.